told me this had happened in Ohio. Thank you. Joe, I got a bone to pick with you already. I was just looking over this program. You're showing I drink your blood at 5:45 in the morning, and you're not showing I eat your skin. That's not, I drink your blood and I eat your skin since 1971 has been the greatest Roman Catholic double feature in America. And they're never shown apart. It's considered drive-in heresy to do that. I want to know who's going to be here for Squirm. That's what I want. That's just so sick. Squirm at 7:30 in the morning. And then what? And then great closer, Joe.
Wait. Allow me to rebut. I don't know if this is heresy, but the original film we had closing the marathon was Carrie. But someone wanted to introduce it to their film, so we had to shuffle a little bit.
Well, I seem to remember an earlier version of this program had Last House on the Left. Last House on the Left is actually an X-rated film. When Wes Craven first made it, he kept sending it to the board. They kept giving him an X, and so he didn't know any other way to release it. And so he just went to his friends that owned some movie theaters in Boston, and he got one of those trailers that they put on the front of the film that says "This film rated R." And he just put it on the film. And nobody ever said anything about it. So to this day, if you find a print, if you ever do find a print, it'll say this film rated R, but it's actually rated A. Okay, well, this is going to be great fun here because this is a horror classic that we're going to watch here. Is there anybody here that has not seen this film? No. There are a few people. Okay, there are about 10 people here. Where have you been? I'm going to protect you. I'm not going to say anything that would give it away for those who haven't seen it. But this was the breakthrough. Well, the film that established my fellow native Texan Sissy Spacek as probably the most famous female supernatural psychotic killer in film history. And it thrust her into stardom, and it launched a whole lot of careers, not just hers. This whole movie, everybody that touched this movie became famous. It made Stephen King famous, of course. It made Brian De Palma famous. He'd been around, but he wasn't famous. It made Amy Irving famous. It made William Katt sort of famous. I mean, he was famous there for a few weeks after that. It made Nancy Allen famous. You know, she's another one that was like backpedaling a little bit. But more important, it was the first movie to deal with the important topic of tampons and Kotex in an adult manner. And that's what makes it the horror classic that we all know and love. Also, Piper Laurie. I have to talk about Piper Laurie, who plays the mom in Carrie. First of all, what a great screen name! What a name that's made to be on the big screen. Piper Laurie. It sounds like, you know, sort of a flower at the Renaissance fair. You know, one of those girls that plays the flute or something, and you just want to kiss her and hug her. You know, unfortunately, she's a total bitch. So in the movie, but she set the standard for mother-daughter child abuse as we know it today. I mean, every other mother-daughter child abuse story since then has owed a big debt to Piper Laurie. Those scenes that she has with Sissy Spacek just make your teeth grind. I still can't watch them, especially when she says, "Let's go to the prayer closet now." Sissy. Both of these actresses were nominated for Oscars for this movie. Now, this never happens with horror movies. You never have anybody nominated for the Academy Award in a horror movie, much less two actresses in the same movie. So that was pretty amazing. And you also have, the thing about Piper Laurie is, many of you probably know her, or you may remember her, she looked a lot different, from The Hustler. in The Hustler, she was Paul Newman's alcoholic girlfriend that he meets in the bus station, and then later in the big Kentucky Derby sequence, she kills herself in a hotel room because she's guilt-ridden over her sordid quickie with George C. Scott. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
All right, in The Hustler. Okay, after The Hustler, well, first of all, she was nominated for the Academy Award for that performance, which was her film debut. Then she retired from the screen to devote herself to her husband. People did that in 1962. And she moved to Woodstock, New York, vanished from sight. 15 years later, she comes back. This is her second movie, Carrie. She gets nominated for the Academy Award again. So she makes a movie once every 15 years, always gets nominated for the Academy Award. But she didn't work at all between those two movies. Sissy Spacek. Sissy Spacek is supposed to be a high school senior in this movie. She was actually 27 years old. Now, Texas girls can get away with that sometimes. And Sissy is from Quitman, Texas, population 1,000, about 1,000, up near Texarkana. And she carries this off, I think, even though she was 27, which would make her, this is the 25th anniversary, so she's 52 today. We all know her age. Nancy Allen, I want to talk about her a little bit. Nancy, Nancy, we all remember the scene where Nancy does a little something special for John Travolta in the front seat of his car, if you know what I mean, and I think you do, That was something you didn't see often in the movies at the time, especially movies directed at high school kids. And in fact, you realize that the only person in this movie who is still a superstar today is the guy whose only job in the movie was to, fake oral sex. That was his big emotional moment, the big oral sex. Anyway, this was Nancy Allen's second film. Her first film was The Last Detail with Randy Quaid, and she was dating Brian De Palma while they were making this movie, and then she married him in 1979. And then they got the big D in 1984, and ever since then she's been resigned to Lifetime Network hell. Travolta, meanwhile, after this movie, becomes a big superstar. He makes Saturday Night Fever, Grease, Urban Cowboy, and then zilch. He vanishes off the radar screen, becomes a Scientologist. The Scientologists teach him how to trust himself and get in touch with all his good stuff and have faith in his career and then eventually get $25 million a movie. But at the time of this movie, he was best known as Vinnie Barbarino in Welcome Back, Kotter. That's why he's down that list on the credits. I don't know which name he is, but he's pretty far down the list. This was also the movie of, as I mentioned before, the first movie of William Katt, who plays the evil Tommy Ross.
Believe it or not, I am walking on air.
And yeah, that's good. Believe it or not, I am walking on air. That's good. And then William Katt, after this, made another semi-famous cult movie called Big Wednesday. That surfer movie with who else is in that? Gary Busey and somebody else famous. And William Katt's mom is Barbara Hale from Perry Mason. And the reason you didn't see William Katt for years is that he went into business with his mom, and they produced all those Perry Mason movies, and William Katt wrote those movies. So that's what he was doing. And of course I know him, and I'll be impressed if very many people here know this movie. 1990, Naked Obsession. Anybody? William Katt is the sleazy city councilman in one of the greatest erotic thriller topless dancer movies ever made. Get that one. I'm not kidding. Check that one out. Naked Obsession, 1990. William Katt's finest moment. Also famous in this movie, Betty Buckley plays the girls' gym coach. This was her first film role, believe it or not. She was known mostly as a stage actress and a cabaret singer. She was in Cats, the original Cats, and Nine, and all that bull stuff that they do on Broadway. And she later became famous for replacing the mom on 8 is Enough. And then there's Amy Irving, who plays Sue, the nice girl, Tommy's real girlfriend. And this was her first movie. And she went on to be nominated for the Academy Award for, does anybody know? Yentl, as Barbara Streisand's wife. Now, how many women have played Barbara Streisand's wife on the big screen? I think that would be one, wouldn't it? And she did a good job at that. And then she married Steven Spielberg, and then she had a baby, and then they got the big D, and then she got $80 million, and that kind of cut into her, work ethic. So, however, she did have time to have a baby with that Brazilian director, Bruno, what's his name? I forget what his name. And she was the only person that was in the Carrie sequel, which came out about 2 years ago, and Carrie 2, The Rage, or The Rage Carrie 2, I can't remember which it is. But I'm one of the few people on the planet who likes the sequel. I think the sequel is pretty dang good. We won't go there though. All right. All these young actors making their first movie were terrified on this set. They were nervous. They didn't know what they were doing from scene to scene. De Palma wouldn't give them any notes. He wouldn't help them out when they had problems. And later he said that, well, that's what he was going for. He was trying to create that particular kind of feeling, and I guess it worked for him. But I think the reason he was probably doing that is he will do anything that Alfred Hitchcock ever did. And Alfred Hitchcock was, of course, famous for treating actors like cattle, and I think Brian was, trying out his psychological terrorism techniques on these young, impressionable actors, and so that's why you get some of the tense moments in the scene. Notably in scenes like the pig slaughter scene, which I know you all love, not to be confused with the squeal like a pig scene in Deliverance. The pig slaughter scene. In fact, did you know there was a musical version of Carrie? Carrie was a stage show in the mid-'80s. I mean, what were they thinking? Unfortunately, I wasn't there on one of the 5 nights that it ran. But Betty Buckley was also in that. She was not the coach. She played the mom in the musical version. But can you imagine they were doing songs for these characters? Like Carrie's mom, "You're going to burn in hell, but first let's dance." Or the big pig slaughtering scene. Here we go, a slaughtering. I don't know what. But anyway, it's better, just the way it's done here with the creepy music of Pino Donaggio. Who is kind of Hitchcock-like in that, all the violins and stuff like that. There's a lot of Hitchcock camera stuff that I won't go into here, but I do have 2 more things that I want to talk about. Well, we'll talk about them after the movie, and we're going to do a Q&A. One thing I want to note though, is that if you'll watch in the various scenes with Sissy Spacek, sometimes she's ugly and sometimes she's beautiful. And all they do is, sometimes they make her freckles incredibly large and bold, and sometimes they make her freckles disappear entirely, depending on whether she's supposed to, whether she's supposed to feel beautiful or feel ugly. Of course, that happens in real life too, so I shouldn't say it's, it's completely a De Palma technique, because you catch the girl in just that right light, and you're like dodging that goodnight kiss, and got to get up at 6 and go to Houston or whatever. And, 5 minutes ago you thought she was a supermodel, right? Anyway, which leads me to my final topic. Feminists hate this movie. There have been a whole lot of feminist articles, serious feminist articles about this movie. They say that it's a sick view of women, that Carrie is sick, the mom is sick, all the girls at school are sick, that it shows only the worst aspects of women, that they're manipulative, that they're too concerned with their looks, that they're ashamed of their bodies, that they're hysterical about religion. And one writer said, "It's the greatest put down of women ever made." To which I say, so what's your point? Anyway, we'll talk more after it's over. I'll just give you these drive-in totals on this movie. 8 dead bodies, 14 naked breasts, 12 gallons of blood, 1 mother from hell, excessive girlfriend slapping, beer on head dunking, pig slaughtering, mind control body flinging, psychedelic prom riot, satanic fire hose, double electrocution, gym teacher slicing, principal burning, backstabbing, crucifixion with dinner knives, exploding house, imploding house, 1 motor vehicle chase with crash and burn, Kotex foo, and of course, pig's blood jubilee. And I also have to ask you to help me out on this, because for years I had to watch this movie in an edited version. It was the version that the Turner networks used on basic cable. And they had been through this thing so many times and I think many of you may have not seen it on the screen. You may have seen some kind of edited cable version, which this will be pleasantly pleasing to you if you've only seen this in some kind of basic cable version. But there's a comment that I've received dozens of letters about. There's a moment in the scene, and I'd like us to try to figure out what's going on here once and for all, because I haven't watched this movie in years in its original form, but there's a moment at which Piper Laurie is doing a guilt trip on Sissy Spacek, and she refers to her what we think, we don't know exactly what she says, because these censors dub in various words, but we think she says something about her dirty pillows. Either she says dirty pillows, or that was the most inventive thing that the TNT censorship department ever invented, But it's so garbled on the TV version that people are always writing in, what is she saying? What is it? We want to know. So look for that. And then I want to warn you, there's like 6 to 8 minutes of trailers and stuff on the front of the movie, so we won't be going right into it. But when the movie does begin, it opens with a shower scene, and a lot of people watch this shower scene and they say, well, that's a little cliched, a shower scene. Well, it was the first shower scene. It was the first group shower scene in a high school movie like that. And of course, it was Brian De Palma's homage, to Kiss Hitchcock's butt. So, it's been copied 19 jillion times, so that's why it looks a little cliche. After the movie, as I said, I want to talk about a couple things that I can't talk about without giving the movie away. And then we'll have a Q&A, and we'll have some fun. All the feminists must submit your questions in writing. And thank you, Joe. This is